From our Chicago studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Samana Siddiqui. Starting Sunday, China will be hosting the largest two-day summit of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, or SCO, in the northern port city of Tianjin. The meeting will be chaired by China's President Xi Jinping and will bring together leaders from Russia, India, Pakistan, Iran, Belarus, and other countries. Founded in 2001 with 6 members, the SCO now has 10 full members, 2 observers, and 14 dialogue partners, making it the world's biggest regional body by population. It works for member states' mutual security, political, and economic cooperation. Jinping has used these gatherings to push joint initiatives under what Beijing calls the Shanghai Spirit. Leaders expected to attend include Russian President Vladimir Putin, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian, and Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif. Immediately after the summit, China will host 26 foreign leaders for a military parade marking the 80th anniversary of victory in World War II against Japan. North Korea's Kim Jong-un and Turkey's Recep Tayyip Erdogan are among the invitees. Protesters filled Wall Street on Thursday demanding economic justice, diversity, and inclusion. The march was led by the National Action Network and drew a diverse crowd of demonstrators. Civil rights leader the Reverend Al Sharpton joined the rally, standing alongside Martin Luther King III and New York mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani. They called for fair opportunities and equality in workplaces and communities. Organizers said the rally was not just about policy, but about people's right to dignity and equal treatment. Observers say the march highlighted a growing push for justice and inclusion at the heart of America's financial capital. In related news, civil rights leader Reverend Al Sharpton, founder of the National Action Network, led a march through Wall Street on Thursday to protest President Donald Trump's rollback of diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. Sharpton, who has been a prominent voice in U.S. civil rights struggles for decades, timed the rally to the 67th anniversary of the 1963 March on Washington, led by the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. He told the crowd, "The dream is not dead. We will march until we return economic inequality around." Protesters moved from Foley Square to Manhattan's financial district, stopping by the famous Charging Bull statue. Sharpton urged boycotts of companies that cut DEI efforts and called the fight the civil rights struggle of our generation. Leaders, including Martin Luther King III and New York lawmaker Zohran Mamdani, joined Sharpton in expressing solidarity. Sharpton also noted the absence of Mayor Eric Adams and former Governor Andrew Cuomo, saying New Yorkers deserve to hear from them. Mamdani reminded the crowd of King's question, "Rights mean little without economic equality." Trump's White House defended the policies as necessary for reducing crime. President Donald Trump has signed a new executive order targeting the union rights of federal workers just days before Labor Day. The order directs several agencies, including NASA, the National Weather Service, and the Patent and Trademark Office, to end collective bargaining agreements. This comes as part of an ongoing legal battle. A similar order issued in March was briefly blocked by a federal judge before the Ninth Circuit Court allowed it to move forward earlier this month. Union leaders say the latest move is retaliation. Everett Kelly of the American Federation of Government Employees called the decision anti-worker and anti-American. It warned it would strip rights from thousands of civil servants, including veterans. Matt Biggs of the International Federation of Professional and Technical Engineers accused the administration of targeting NASA workers after his union challenged the earlier order in court. Unions are preparing an immediate response. House Republicans are pressuring Wikipedia to reveal the identities of editors for highlighting Israel's violence against Palestinians. Wikipedia is a free online encyclopedia written and maintained by volunteers and hosted by the Wikimedia Foundation, an American nonprofit. Oversight Committee Chair James Comer of Kentucky and Subcommittee Chair Nancy Mace of South Carolina sent a letter to Wikimedia CEO Mariana Iskander. They are seeking records, including names, IP addresses, and activity logs of editors investigated for bias. The lawmakers cited a report from the Pro-Israel Anti-Defamation League, or ADL. It claimed that Wikipedia's editors had favored Palestine in their entries, while downplaying anti-Semitism and violence by Palestinian resistance groups. The Wikimedia Foundation said it was reviewing the request and would cooperate while emphasizing the importance of protecting the platform's integrity. Observers warned that the demand amounts to doxing volunteers who use pseudonyms to safeguard their privacy. Some academics whose research was cited by the ADL say the Zionist Jewish group distorted their work and relied on the false premise that criticism of Israel equates to anti-Semitism. In a piece for The Forward, Shira Klein, whose research on Wikipedia's documentation of the Holocaust appears in the report, said the ADL inaccurately used her work and the work of others. Hollywood stars Joaquin Phoenix and Brad Pitt have joined as executive producers of The Voice of Hind Rajab, a film by Tunisian director Kauthar Benhania. The movie tells the story of 6-year-old Hind Rajab, who was shot to death by Israeli soldiers in Gaza in January 2024. The film will premiere on September 3rd at the Venice Film Festival and later screen in Toronto. Other big names supporting the project include Oscar-winning directors Jonathan Glazer and Alfonso Cuarón, along with actress Rooney Mara. The film reconstructs Hind Rajab's final hours using voice recordings between her and Red Crescent volunteers who tried to save her. Hind Rajab survived the first attack but was later shot by Israeli soldiers before rescuers could reach her. Benhania, whose previous films earned Oscar nominations, said cinema can preserve memory where politics and news cycles fail. The project arrives as Hollywood faces criticism over its muted response to Israel's ongoing genocide in Gaza. Half of American voters believe Israel is committing genocide in Gaza. Details after the break, so stay tuned and we'll be right back. At least half of American voters believe Israel is committing genocide in Gaza. A new Quinnipiac University poll shows that this belief is strongest among Democrats at 77%, followed by 51% of independents. Among Republicans, 64% disagree. The survey also found that 6 in 10 voters oppose Washington sending more military aid to Israel, the highest opposition since Quinnipiac began tracking in late 2023. Sympathy among Americans is now evenly split, with 37% favoring Palestinians and 36% siding with Israelis. Analysts say support for Palestinians has reached its highest point since polling began in 2001. Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, as well as Israeli human rights organizations B'Tselem and Physicians for Human Rights Israel say Israel is committing genocide. Quinnipiac polled 1,220 registered voters with a margin of error of plus or minus 3.4 percentage points. 5 more Palestinians, including 2 children, have died of starvation in Gaza due to Israel's ongoing blockade of food and humanitarian aid to the region. The health ministry said the latest deaths bring the toll from hunger since October 2023 to 322, including 121 children. Officials warned that aid supplies remain far below urgent needs. Israel allowed only 467 trucks to enter Gaza over the past 5 days out of 3,000 planned. Of the more than 2,600 trucks that entered last month, many were looted with Israeli complicity, the government media office said. Israel has closed all border crossings since March 2nd, blocking thousands of waiting relief trucks. Limited aid allowed in recently is far from enough for Gaza's 2.4 million people. Humanitarian groups say famine is worsening, with children being the most vulnerable. Health officials warn that without unrestricted aid access, deaths from malnutrition will continue to climb. Canadian Muslim leaders are outraged after a report by the province of Quebec recommended widening the province's ban on religious symbols. The 300-page study suggests extending Bill 21 to cover employees in subsidized daycares. Bill 21, which was passed in 2019, already forbids teachers, healthcare workers, and other public servants from wearing items like the hijab, a Sikh turban, a Christian cross, or a Jewish kippah at work. The National Council of Canadian Muslims, or NCCM, which is challenging the law in the Supreme Court, condemned the new proposal. Experts say the policy unfairly targets Muslim women, forcing them to choose between faith and employment. The report also raised eyebrows by questioning Muslim students' health during Ramadan fasting. NCCM CEO Stephen Brown accused Quebec's ruling party of prioritizing attacks on minorities over urgent issues like inflation and healthcare. Muslim groups, alongside civil liberties advocates, have vowed to continue their legal fight against Bill 21. UNICEF says children are paying the highest price as violence escalates in Burma's Rakhine state. The agency's regional director, Jane Kunugi, voiced grave concern after an August 25th attack in Merauke Township killed and injured children and destroyed homes. She said children are dying in the very places where they should feel safe, including their homes and communities. The UN warns that families in Rakhine are facing displacement, food shortages, and a collapse of health and education services. UNICEF urged all parties to respect humanitarian law, protect civilians, and allow aid groups safe access to deliver life-saving assistance. Rakhine State has long been a flashpoint of violence. Hundreds of thousands of Rohingya have fled Burma in the past decade, following brutal ethnic cleansing by the military and armed groups targeting their community. Save the Children has warned that 4 African countries could soon run out of life-saving food for malnourished children. Nigeria, Kenya, Somalia, and South Sudan are at risk of exhausting their supply of ready-to-use therapeutic food, or RUTF, within the next 3 months. RUTF is a fortified peanut paste mixed with milk powder and vitamins. It is considered one of the most effective treatments for children suffering from severe acute malnutrition. The NGO said the shortage is a result of aid cuts and the closure of production facilities. It also warned that a global decline in nutrition funding could leave 15.6 million people across 18 countries without treatment next year. That includes more than 2.3 million children. The crisis is expected to worsen in 2026 unless urgent funding is restored and supplies are secured for the most vulnerable. Pakistan's historic town of Shadara, located across the Ravi River from Lahore, was submerged after India released water from its dams during the monsoon season. Heavy floods have battered the Pakistani province of Punjab, with towns near the Sutlej, Ravi, and Chenab rivers facing catastrophic risk. Low-lying areas in Wazirabad, Sialkot, Lahore, and Gujranwala have been inundated. Pakistan's disaster authority says 14 people have died so far, 13 in Punjab and 1 in Pakistan-administered Kashmir. More rain is expected in the provinces of Punjab and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa through September 2nd. Authorities report widespread damage to homes, crops, and infrastructure. Punjab's Chief Minister Maryam Nawaz said relief teams are active with a damage survey planned once waters recede. The army has also been deployed in Punjab. Since late June, relentless rains and flooding have killed at least 819 people across Pakistan, including more than 500 in just the past 2 weeks. Israeli soldiers killed at least 59 Palestinians, including 23 people trying to get food aid, in attacks across Gaza in the past 24 hours. Since dawn on Friday, at least 30 people have been killed in separate Israeli attacks. The health ministry said the airstrikes hit several areas, including Gaza City, Khan Yunis, and Israel-designated humanitarian zones in Al-Mawasi. At least 5 people died in Tel al-Hawa and 2 were killed in Al-Buraish refugee camp. Medical sources confirmed that children were among the victims. Doctors at Gaza's largest hospital, Al-Shifa, warned of a mysterious virus spreading in crowded shelters linked to malnutrition and lack of clean water. The health system, already near collapse, is struggling to respond. Meanwhile, Israel's military declared Gaza City a dangerous combat zone as it prepared for a new assault. Israel has killed over 64,000 Palestinians, most of them women, children, and the elderly, since the start of its genocide in Gaza in October 2023. Turkey has shut its airspace and ports to Israeli official and military traffic. Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan told Parliament that Ankara has cut all trade ties with Israel and banned container ships carrying weapons or ammunition from docking. Turkish ships are no longer allowed to dock in Israel either. Fidan said the measures were in response to Israel's war in Gaza, actions at Jerusalem's Al-Aqsa Mosque, and Israeli settler violence in the West Bank. Turkish officials later clarified that Israel's official and military flights had already been banned since late 2023, but commercial airliners bound for Israel can still use Turkish airspace. Turkey also recently blocked Israeli President Isaac Herzog's flight and imposed restrictions on Israeli-affiliated vessels. Fidan urged Islamic nations to push for Israel's suspension from the UN General Assembly and pressed for Palestine's full membership. Relations between Ankara and Tel Aviv have sharply deteriorated since Turkey joined the genocide case against Israel at the International Court of Justice over a year ago. In Turkey, the Gaza conference concluded today at the Hagia Sophia Mosque with an Istanbul declaration affirming support for Palestinians' right to resist Israeli occupation. The declaration was issued after 8 days of deliberation by approximately 200 Islamic scholars and Muslim religious leaders from more than 50 countries. Organizers said the conference was convened in response to continuous massacres in Gaza and international inaction. The Istanbul Declaration outlined measures for political, humanitarian, and legal mobilization. These include demanding that all political and commercial cooperation with Israel be immediately terminated and urging global participation in sea convoys to break the blockade. It also urged prosecutions of war crimes internationally and domestically. The declaration also urged Western governments, particularly the U.S., to withdraw support for Israel, calling for a humane and ethical stance against the war crimes committed in Gaza. The International Union of Muslim Scholars and the Foundation for Islamic Scholars in Turkey jointly organized the conference. That's all from our Chicago studios tonight. Thank you for watching Muslim News. We are a community channel dedicated to bringing you stories you can trust. Please like, share, and subscribe to our content. You can also comment to let us know what you think of our coverage. Please donate now by visiting muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV. Salam.